Hey, welcome into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We will be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports content. Wade, happy Friday. You ready for
What's
the
up?
weekend?
Yeah, man, pumped for it. We talked about it all week. This is the best time of the year. Weather's feeling great. Well, for the next couple hours and days, I guess. But the temperatures feel great, I should say. But also the sports calendar cannot be beat. It is simply the best time of the year. So, yeah, we are pumped for this weekend and what's to come.
We are chock full of activity to discuss here over the next couple of hours. In the second hour, right off the top, we will be joined by Joe Rexrode of The Athletic talking a little college football. As we mentioned yesterday when we had Kevin Ingram on, we got a pretty big SEC schedule, and there's plenty of other stuff going on across the college football landscape. So excited to get Joe Rexrode on with us. We were slated to have him earlier this week, but certain activities out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park prevented his availability. So now that the smoke has cleared a little bit, pleased to get Joe at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Speaking of St. Thomas Sports Park, in the next segment, we'll be joined by TERESA Walker of the Associated Press to talk about inhabitants thereof, the Tennessee Titans. They've got a ball game this weekend coming back to Nissan Stadium after 3 weeks away. And it's not the same folks coming back that left. So we will get with TERESA on that in the next segment. We'll also be talking a little college basketball. We'll be talking a little Major League Baseball as the postseason continues. Also get some hockey in, a little soccer, a little NASCAR. I mean, we are going to run the gamut here over the next couple of hours. And don't forget, in the final segment of the show, Wade and I will be bringing you our 10 weekly winners, our 10 weekend winners on the Wonder Slate as we take our shot at picking some college football winners. Looking forward to that. Actually, Wade's probably looking forward to it a little bit more than I am. I didn't have a great week last week, but we will. Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, every week's a new one. Chance to go 10-0 every single week, baby.
Or 0-10. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. Again, looking forward to checking in with TERESA in the next segment, Joe in the next hour. Plenty to talk to them about. So let's go ahead and dive right into it, Wade, with yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Lock and load, boys and girls. A Friday rundown is underway here on Main Street Sports Today, and that means we give you Thursday results. Tickets handed out to the state tournament last night on volleyball action as these winners will advance to the state tournament. We start with Arlington, who defeats Kirkwood last night 3-0. Blackman picking up a 3-0 win over Bradley Central. Straight sets as well as Brentwood knocked off Green Hill. It was Clarksville 3, Houston 1. Siegel with a 5-set victory, 3-2 over Cleveland. Creekwood sweeping Hume Fogg 3-0. It was Eagleville 3, East Robertson 0. Summit with a 3-1 win over Gallatin. Merrill Hyde defeating the Lady Mustangs of Loretto 3-1. It was Signal Mountain 3, Murfreesboro Central Magnet 1. Summertown knocking off Harpeth 3-0 last night. And Valor Collegiate did the same, blanking Lexington.
In girls soccer action from Thursday night, it was Cheatham County 1-0 over Harpeth. Fairview defeated Sycamore 7-1. Hendersonville with a blanking of Gallatin, 3-0 the final there. Good Pasture and Mount Juliet Christian played to a 1-1 draw. Siegel Edge and Blackman 1-0. Stewart's Creek with a 3-1 win over Lebanon. It was Franklin 1, Summit 0, and Tullahoma edging Murfreesboro Central 3-2. Major League Baseball action last night. It was Toronto 3. Toronto 8. Seattle 2. And in the NLCS, it was the Los Angeles Dodgers extending their lead to 3-0 with a 3-1 win over the Milwaukee Brewers.
A couple of MLB games there. We'll have more coming up this weekend as we cruise now into the Friday schedule. High school football action. All these games at 7 p.m. unless stated otherwise. First up, we have Loretto at Adamsville. Pope John Paul II traveling tonight to BGA. Gallatin will visit Beach. Smyrna on the road tonight at Blackman. Franklin visiting Brentwood. Fairview's on the road this evening at Camden Central. It'll be Watertown at Cascade. Lipscomb Academy is at Christian Brothers at 7. Also at 7 tonight, Summit at Coffee County. Lincoln County will visit Columbia this evening at 7 p.m. Nashville Christian is on the road, also in Murray County, down at Columbia Academy. It'll be Zion Christian taking on Ezel Harding tonight. Lawrence County will make a trip over to Winchester to take on Franklin County. Franklin Christian is visiting Friendship Christian tonight. Good Pasture will be at Grace Christian Franklin. Lebanon is making the short trip to Green Hill tonight at 7 p.m. Also at 7, continuing, Station Camp at Hendersonville. Your Main Street Preps game of the week tonight will be East Nashville at Hickman County. Yours truly on the call this evening. It'll be Eagleville at Huntland. Giles County will make the long trip to Jackson Northside tonight. And Oakland will be on the road at Laverne.
Also at 7 tonight, East Hickman is at Mount Pleasant. Centennial travels to Nolensville. Independence is at Page. Portland is hosting Davidson Academy. Providence Academy comes to Providence Christian. That's Providence Academy up in the Tri-Cities coming to Providence Christian in Murfreesboro. 7 o'clock kickoff there. Summertown is at Richland. Siegel goes to Riverdale. Tullahoma is at Rockvale. Shelbyville hosts Ravenwood. Big rivalry matchup. First time, Battle Creek goes to Spring Hill tonight. 7 o'clock Region 5-4A matchup there. Knoxville Webb is at Stewart's Creek at 7. Westmoreland goes to Stratford. Middle Tennessee Christian goes west to Tipton Rosemark for a 7 o'clock kick. Liberty Creek is at White House, and Mount Juliet is at Wilson Central. In volleyball action at 5 o'clock this evening, Pope John Paul II is at Christ Presbyterian Academy. Major League Baseball action, Game 5 of the ALCS has Toronto at Seattle. That's a 5:08 start. You can see it on FS1. It's followed at 7:38 on TBS by Milwaukee at the Dodgers.
Let's go to Saturday now, and we do have some high school volleyball on the cards for Saturday. Don't have a lot of start times listed, but we do show a schedule featuring Father Ryan and Briarcrest Christian. You can also catch Lipscomb Academy at Knoxville Catholic, Providence Christian at Lakeway Christian. Notre Dame will be on the road at Middle Tennessee Christian. BGA traveling to North Point Christian, and Franklin Road Academy will be at Silverdale Academy. College football of local slate action beginning at 11 a.m. tomorrow on ABC. LSU will be at Vanderbilt. Cumberland is on the road tomorrow at Georgetown. That is a 12:30 kickoff. Howard and TSU will tangle at 4:30 over at Nissan Stadium tomorrow. That game can be also seen on ESPN+. And at 6:30 tomorrow night, big game in the SEC. Big game here locally as Tennessee will visit Bryant-Denny Stadium to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Again, a 6:30 kickoff on ABC. MLS action wrapping up. It'll be decision day tomorrow as all the teams will be in play. And at 5 p.m., Inter Messi, as some folks like to call them, at NSC. Tickets are sky high, but you can also sit back on the couch and watch that 5 p.m. kickoff on Apple TV. Major League Baseball action, one game scheduled as of right now, and it's Milwaukee at the Dodgers at 7:08 first pitch on TBS, Friday result permitting.
Yeah. Sunday games of local interest at 12 noon over at Nissan Stadium. It'll be the New England Patriots coming in, taking on the Tennessee Titans. Again, that's a 12 noon kick. It will be broadcast on CBS. We'll be talking more about that here in a bit. And in Major League Baseball action, Seattle will go back to Toronto. That'll be a 7:03 start on FS1. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And news, but Loyola Chicago's men's basketball team will be honoring the late Sister Jean, who passed away last. I'm sorry, a patch on their jersey recognizing her this upcoming season. Loyola Chicago's 2018 CAA tournament run since that time and made it to all their games and that kind of thing. She's previously been their team academic advisor, but again, during that 18 tournament, number 11 seed Loyola made it to the Final Four, knocking off Miami, Tennessee, and Nevada, winning those winning those 3 games by 4 points total. And she was kind of adopted as a good luck charm for the Ramblers during that run. Again, passed away last Thursday at the age of 106, and they will be recognizing her with a patch on their jersey. Well-deserved recognition for a great lady. So pretty big deal there.
Big deal there. Big deal. This was news that kind of reverberated, not even really just across college basketball, but kind of transcended sports with that remarkable run that they went on, like you talked about. And, some of the real old school great teams from Loyola Chicago kind of thrust into the spotlight with those magical runs. And really, Sister Jean was kind of like you said, the real show of the real star of the show in that sense. The patch looks great. Thinking about the Bears, they kind of have taken some heat on the internet for their patch to their late owners. So I like what I see on this initial rollout here, and it's going to be different. It's going to be weird, but what a epic life and just long career of service and selflessness and just tremendous impact that she made there. Joining Mundelein College, which I didn't even know existed, Mo, but that's because they merged with Loyola Chicago in 1991. But she was there 30 years prior to that, joining them in 1961. So been around just ages and ages, and a true kind of transcendent figure in the world of sports, but obviously particularly in college basketball.
It is just really hard to grasp 106 years of age. I'm struggling with that one, but
and was looking good last season. They show her, and it's like, well, she's looking as fresh as a daisy over there.
Absolutely. Recently retired as the team's chaplain, and stepped down from campus responsibilities because of health reasons, which again, at triple digits is, kind of understandable. In many roles at Loyola over the course of more than 60 years, Sister Jean was an invaluable source of wisdom and grace for generations of students, faculty, and staff. While we feel grief and a sense of loss, there is great joy in her legacy. Her presence was a profound blessing for our entire community, and her spirit abides in thousands of lives. In her honor, we can aspire to share with others the love and compassion Sister Jean shared with us. Those were the words of Mark C. Reed, president of Loyola Chicago. And it's interesting that I'm sorry, I misspoke. But she started a program on campus called SMILE, Students Moving into the Lives of the Elderly, that paired Loyola students with residents of an assisted living community where she lived. So again, Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers will be recognizing the late Sister Jean with a patch on their uniform as they move through this season. She passed away last Thursday at 106.
Love this too. When the outpouring was coming in this time last week, some folks were kind of, reminding, you see her on TV, but unless you're at the arena, you don't get the whole shebang, so to speak. But I love this. She would tip it off. She would begin the game with a prayer, and she would often ask the Lord for an injury-free game. But she would sneak in there and say, grant the Ramblers a W, and ask that the referees called the game fair. And she had a great quote when she said, sometimes my prayers don't seem very holy, but they mean a lot to our players. She said, I roam the concourse at halftime, and opponents' fans come up to me and say, you pray harder for Loyola. And she said, quote, if you wore gold and maroon, you would too. So charismatic character, unbelievable career. And like I said a moment ago, really just captivated not just the college basketball landscape, but really kind of the nation when they made that run. And it will be an interesting go around for them because she was kind of a key figure there on campus. They've won 23 games and 25 games the last 2 years. New coach Drew Valentine after Porter Moser moves on. So they got some heat, and it would be cool if they could potentially make another deep run. It'd be epic if they could do so in March Madness this year.
Absolutely. Feisty, Sister Jean. Gotta
Yep.
like it. Yeah. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will visit with TERESA M. Walker, the queen of Tennessee sports media. Talk a little Tennessee Titans. Stick around.
The winning just got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Titans coming back home this weekend, as we mentioned, looking a little different than they did when they left. Different guy will be calling the shots on the sidelines this weekend. Mike McCoy, the interim coach, taking over for Brian Callahan, who was dismissed earlier this week. And we will discuss some of that with TERESA Walker when she gets here. She has not quite made it yet. We might be a little ahead of ourselves. But while we await TERESA, Wade, you kind of called it when we were talking about Thursday night football last night. Cincinnati 33, Pittsburgh 31, the final. The Steelers were what? A 5.5-point favorite?
Yep, and Mike Tomlin falls to 0-7 on Thursday night games versus the
And the
AFC
Steelers
North.
to
The Steelers fall to 0-9. Yeah, it was kind of a Unk Bowl delivered in many respects because it was the rare Thursday night offensive explosion, but it didn't really start out that way. It was a kind of a heading toward another gross AFC North kind of duking it out type ball game, and then all of a sudden Flacco, after we roasted that offensive line for Cincinnati yesterday, at least I did, roasted it with facts, I guess, but roasted it nonetheless. They kept him upright. They kept him mobile. He finishes 31-47. Who knew that throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins a lot would lead to a productive offense. Who knew that would play out that way, right? Because Flacco looked great. And it's just when you thought you'd seen it all too, right at the end of the game, backed up in their own territory, they call the quarterback option or the quarterback read. Flacco scrambles for a 12-yard rush. I mean, this game had everything, including Aaron Rodgers, according to Next Gen Stats, throwing the ball on the Hail Mary 69.8 yards. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts would dream to have that type of ball, and it was knocked away right at the end. We got everything in this game, as odd as it was for an AFC North battle on Thursday night.
And once again, you see a team play for a field goal for the win, though. I mean,
shout out to T. Higgins, man. Catches the ball and goes down, realizes the assignment, could have ran right into the end zone. Yeah, you're up 6, potentially up 7, obviously, with the BAT. He says, no, smart play. We're just going to keep it right between the sticks, run the clock down, kick the field goal, and have a chance to really, really milk the game away. Smart play by Higgins, even though it cost him a TD and a 100-yard night.
It cost him a TD. It cost him a 100-yard night. It was ultimately the smart play. But, man, you know, you see a lot of chip shots missed. I mean,
we do.
I'm one of those bird in the hand kind of guys, I guess. I mean, I get it. You know, probably the time is more important to you at that moment. But you know, a bad snap, a bad handled snap, there's still a lot that can go awry on that game-winning field goal there by McPherson. It feels like to me. Maybe I'm just a glass half empty kind of guy.
Yeah, it feels like it. And don't cut this for the analytics nerds because they'll be coming for you, Mo. This is Higgins making the great play. We see so many times, though, running backs that either get out of bounds or they end up going into the end zone. They either leave precious seconds on the clock or they get the points early, and we see teams march down. After we saw Tomlin have a kind of a surrender punt late in the game, I don't know he would have had the stones to go for 2 in that situation, but potentially you open the door up. Obviously, we're talking about a much different story if he misses the kick or obviously if Rodgers connects on the Hail Mary in the end zone. But at least for one night, the Bengals looked pretty good. They looked comfortable with Flacco up there, and Pittsburgh had a chance to really put a stranglehold on the division last night, and yet again on Thursday night, let it slip through their fingers.
Well, that's what they do on Thursday nights, apparently. Meanwhile, you mentioned Jamar Chase, 16 catches, a single game Bengals record.
23 targets.
I mean, to your point, though, why would you not, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Flacco, why not? I mean, Joe Flacco, name me 2 Cleveland wide receivers right now. I mean, you're going to struggle to come up with that. Joe Flacco rolls in and says, hey, I got Jamar Chase. I got T. Higgins. Even threw a touchdown to Noah Fant, a still pretty useful tight end. I mean, it was a treasure trove of goodies for Flacco last night. If they could keep him upright, which they did, Pittsburgh only had 1 sack on the night, and it came in the next to last drive offensively, the last drive of the night offensively for the Bengals. They did everything they were supposed to do, and it was Pittsburgh's defense that really let them down last night.
And you talked about the quarterback read, and I imagine Flacco's back there, to your point, saying, hey, I'll run it every now and then as long as I get to throw it to those 2 guys 20-something times. So, yeah, why not? Cincinnati 33, Pittsburgh 31 on Thursday Night Football. Pittsburgh's Thursday night futility continuing. Joining us now from the Associated Press is, again, the queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA M. Walker. TERESA, it's been a heck of a week here in Nashville at the professional football level.
Just a little bit. And sorry, Roscoe is trying to use the back of my laptop as a scratching post for his face. But yes, I mean, it was already a busy week. We've got LSU at Vandy. Titans were back home after a 3-game road swing, hosting Mike Vrabel. And I was literally getting ready to leave in 5 minutes. And I look at my email and I just missed seeing it pop in 2 minutes earlier, the statement that they had relieved Brian Callahan of his duties. Guys, I love the euphemisms. Yes, you relieved him of his duties. You fired him. You told him to take his things and go. And his dad followed him. And just to show you how they handled that, they didn't confirm that Brian Callahan was also gone until 1 o'clock when Mike McCoy talked. Really, right McCoy walked in, I refreshed Bill Callahan listed as or offensive line coach. And then once Mike McCoy started talking, I refreshed it. And as soon as he announced it, boom.
Timing is everything, huh?
Like they were prepared. They really were prepared for this, even though the writing was on the wall. I mean, I couldn't have been the only one who wrote preparedness for Brian Callahan being fired 3 weeks ago. Peter Skoronsky in the locker room on Wednesday said you kind of needed a change. You could, offensively, I used it in my story on Wednesday, but and I quoted him. But that's the thing, when you're an offensive guy brought in to be the offensive coach, and they were last in first downs, last in third down conversion percentage. They're not staying on the field. When Nick Holtz, the offensive coordinator and friend of Brian Callahan, was asking yesterday about going up tempo, he's like, we need to get a first down. We need to get first downs.
We need a tempo.
You
however slowly or quickly it's necessary to get first downs. That's what we need to do. So that said, Teresa, what are the differences that you anticipate Sunday? Well, we'll have to re-ask that question when Teresa gets back, maybe. Teresa, are you there?
I am. Sorry, guys. I don't know. So much for the great Wi-Fi. I adjust my security settings and nothing seems to help. This happened to me yesterday morning. So,
no. What are the expectations for this team in the aftermath of all this? Because, I mean, everybody says, we're all professionals. We move on, blah, blah, blah. But it's not every day that your coach gets fired in midseason, even if it was necessary, as Skoronsky said.
Well, no, and Ben Day, who covers the Bengals, put out a graph 2-3 weeks ago, and it showed the number of drafted players on each roster in the NFL. Guess where the Tennessee Titans ranked? 32 out of 32. So there's not a lot of talent on this roster, and they've declared Calvin Ridley out for Sunday's game with a hamstring that knocked him out of last week's game. So it's like, but we'll find out what Mike McCoy can do as a coach. 4 years with the San Diego Chargers. He did coach them to a wild card playoff game win on the road, and then was fired at the end of the 2016 season, literally an hour after the season ended with the Chargers. So he's been around Peyton Manning when he was in Denver. He's been, he coached Phillip Rivers. So we'll see, what he's able to do with Cam. Cam is, he's on the party line. The young man who talked in training camp and early this season about wanting stability. It's like, I've changed coaches before. We're just trying to win. We're just trying to get this offense going, score points, stay on the field, and do those things. So at this point, get a win. The Patriots come to town. They have not won at Nissan Stadium since November 3rd last year when they beat the Patriots with Gerard Mayo as coach. That was in overtime. So try to find a win. I thought that 6 wins was doable. And then, coaches can make a difference. We saw that in the game that they lost to Denver. We saw it when they couldn't, figure out, are you kicking a field goal or are you not on 4th and short, 1, and they end up taking a delay game penalty after not 1 but 2 timeouts. So coaching can make a difference. And we've seen teams, with an interim coach get a buzz, they get a buzz. It's like, because it's almost like a reminder, our jobs are on the line. We better get it up and get going. And Dan Campbell was the interim coach with the Dolphins, brought them in here and beat the Titans just over a decade or so ago. So, that is a real thing. You can get and there, some people are pointing out Mike Vrabel has had a chance of losing the teams he shouldn't, beating the teams he shouldn't. So is this maybe a trap game? The Pats are 4-2 atop the AFC East, feeling good about themselves. But it's all the Vrabel revenge, yada, yada. Is it going to end up like the 59-0 thumping in the snow in New England? Is it going to be like 2006 when Belichick sent in Vinny Testaverde threw a touchdown pass with 1:45 left to go in a rout of the Titans in 2006? So and now interim coaches do have a history with this franchise. Mike Mularkey got the job after his interim stint in 15, lasted 2 seasons. Jeff Fisher replaced Jack Pardee in 1994. That worked out pretty good. He coached through 2010 with this franchise. So, is this second chance all Mike McCoy needed to show what he can do? Or is Chad Brinker and Mike Bergonzi already going through all the resumes that they had from the last coaching search a year ago?
Teresa, you mentioned the offense a minute ago, and I'm curious your personal thoughts. We talked about 2 weeks ago that Callahan relinquished those play calling duties. There was some reporting, maybe or may not that was his decision. But I'm curious with last week, there's maybe some argument to be made that there was still some fingerprints of Callahan calling the plays or at least impacting what Hardigree could do. What do you think an offense looks like with a brand new head coach and, Hardigree maybe perhaps in some ways free, for lack of a better term, this week?
We'll find out how free he is. I mean, Bo Hardigree said at one point that, asked why they didn't, it was the Houston game. And he was like, why did you punt? Why did you do that play on second down and third down and end up punting when you were on the other side of the 50? And he's like, well, the game plan is the game plan. Third quarter, 6-0 game. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you throw out the game plan and adapt to the situation at hand. And 6-0, when you're on the other side of the 50, I'm thinking I'm going to get a field goal out of this no matter what. But it's like that sticks in my head. Game plan is the game plan. So Wade, we'll see on Sunday if there is a difference. But I will say this. I mean, in Las Vegas, they couldn't stay on the field. Mm-hmm. And when you cannot do that, when you can't string together more than 3, 4, 5 plays, you can't go deep into any playbook. I don't care whose it is. And, you're in the middle of the season. You're not, and there was no bye. This firing happened Monday. We got the email at 12:51. Mike McCoy was announced around 4:30 as the interim head coach. Don't know why it took him so long. I mean, sorry, guys, this is a pet peeve, but when you kind of have a feeling you might need to make a change, call me crazy, but I got a game plan for everything I need to do. I don't know how they didn't have a game plan for we're going to go to this guy, ask him if he wants to be the interim, and we're going to handle it this way. After the loss in Las Vegas, that clock should have been working. You should have been figuring some stuff out ahead of the morning meeting on Monday with Amy Adams-Strunk, because the writing again it was in marker on the wall.
It was on the wall, and it was pretty evident, Teresa, and you're right. I'm curious who was the head coach for those 3+ hours there. I guess really kind of things considered. I do want to ask you, and we don't have to get too deep into this, but give me your thoughts or your take. How much banging of the drum internally or externally was there for a guy like John Fossil to maybe take over? Was McCoy kind of set in stone in your mind as the interim when this happened?
Well, there's a lot of people that like Bones Fossil because he's a great communicator. And his special teams have had great success this year. I mean, compared to the last few seasons, every Titans fan remembers Ryan Stonehouse getting hit by an unblocked rusher and breaking his leg. And almost, hopefully Stoney can maybe get back in the league, but it just feels like that was the thing that, kind of stuck the pin in his balloon of an NFL career. So, but he only has 3 games of interim experience, 2016 with the Rams, replacing Jeff Fisher. Mike McCoy is a former head coach who did 4 seasons, and he's in his 23rd season of being an NFL coach. So looking at the options, he did seem on paper the best option, because we all know that Bill was not going to be sticking around once his son was gone, and he's the other NFL head coach experience on this team. Well, not anymore. So yeah, there were some people, but it almost weighed how much was internally. There was a lot of outside guys. Why? Fossil's a great talker at the podium and media. We love that.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We've kind of covered the Vrabel aspect of this, kind of covered the McCoy aspect of this. Yeah. What is there to build on, though?
Cam Ward. And, let's look at these last 2 draft classes. Rand's last year, Tavondre Sweat, he's had kind of a cursed second season, but, he was good last year. We'll see if he's hoping, and Mike McCoy said there'd be a status update tomorrow, but expecting him to be activated in time to play Sunday because, they're banged up at edge rusher. So Tyjae Spears is looking good. J.C. Latham played every snap as a rookie. So that was looking like a good number 1 first-round pick. On the second part, he's struggled this season with the switch to right tackle, and he's coming off the injury. And there was the athletic report that Jeffrey Simmons last week kind of stopped practice and called out Latham. And so it's going to be interesting to see how he tries to build on Sunday. Because he's not happy with how he played. And then you go into this year's class, the story still has to be written with Cam Ward, but he is your first overall pick, a rare one for this franchise. Chimere DK, Alec Ayamaner. I mean, you're Cedric Gray from last year. I mean, he's just turned into a tackling machine. So it's like you've got those 2 classes, and then you're going to have the most cap space in the NFL next year, regardless of what you do between now and the trade deadline next March, when they're going to have a chance if they want to clear some more cap space. L'Jarius Sneed has an out in his contract. Calvin Ridley, they can get more space. This is going to be an attractive location, no matter who's the head coach next year, because they've got Cam Ward. There are going to be people who want to come here and help him and be a part of this. And then you've got the new stadium in 27. So I think this is going to be a very attractive job. But, they knew coming into this season that it was a rebuilding year. I mean, I was among the most enthusiastic, presuming coaches could improve as well. But I thought 6 wins was the outside. 3 to 1 win was the downside. And right now, 1 is looking like is in the clubhouse as the winner at the moment. But there was a low bar, and Brian Callahan tripped over it. And so it's like, at this point, and guys, let's remember, there is not a coach alive who doesn't think I can come in there and I can make all this work perfectly. Yeah. And we look at New England. Look at Mike Vrabel. They have won as many games through 6 games as they've won each of the last 2 seasons. They hit their head at 4 wins the last 2 seasons. It's why Gerard Mayo, was let go by the Patriots, and the guy who had been coach and waiting for a long time. So you get the right coach in, that's what turns things around. And I'll say this: I know that Amy Adams-Strunk has taken a beating for another firing, but when a guy isn't working. I mean, guys, do you stay in a relationship that's not working just because there's a big party to go to in 6 months? No, you go ahead and pull the plug and hope that by the time that date comes, you've got somebody better on your arm.
It's a hell of an analogy. That's a hell of an analogy, Teresa. Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. What did you make of the news that Traylon Burks is now with the Commanders, Teresa?
Well, he worked out. I think it was Denver and maybe another team in there, but good for him. I mean, I hope that he can get things together. I mean, he came into camp they said he was in great shape. They were really encouraged and wanted to see what he could do on the field, and he got hurt. And that's been a broken collarbone. I mean, that stuff happens in the NFL. So hopefully for his sake that he goes there and gets things turned around. I mean, he might end up being yet the latest. We remember him when he was a Titan. That list is long, and there's a lot. There are several who have gone on and done good things and extended their careers, but so it's not the longest list in the world. So, but hopefully, I mean, he was a first-round pick. And for his sake, it would be nice to see him add some more to a resume so that the first line of his obituary, as we say in the industry, isn't the fact that he was the guy taken with the pick that they traded for, got for trading A.J. Brown.
Also, to that point, Teresa, if nothing else, I mean, he might have a chance to come right in and play because the Commanders are really going through it in terms of injuries with McLaurin potentially missing this week. Debo's banged up. I don't know that he will get action this week, but he could be an immediate plug-and-play guy for them, even coming off the streets, I think.
Exactly. They have a serious need. And when you have a need and you've got Jaden Daniels there, he showed last year that he could make things work quickly with receivers. So if he can get him up And hopefully Traylon Burks is in great shape. Can't imagine he'd be added to a practice squad if he wasn't in shape. So, that's going to be the interesting thing. And let's not forget that, the Titans, before they waived him this time, they had tried to waive him injured. And then nobody is like, I'm not picking up somebody's hurt. People don't sign players in season that are hurt. They sign players who can help them.
There you have it. TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. T, what are your thoughts regarding that ball game over at First Bank tomorrow morning?
I thought from the beginning of the season that Vandy would have a chance. And the closer we get to this game, the more I think they will win this game on Saturday. I mean, the fact that they're 2.5-point favorites it's like, yeah, I'm not used to that. I've covered Vanderbilt since 92. I'm just not used to that. But this is a different Vanderbilt team. And you hear them talking. It's like they've had an open date for that Alabama game to sit with them and gnaw on them. And particularly Diego Pavia, who knows that his 2 turnovers in the red zone cost them a chance to make that an interesting fourth quarter at Alabama. So, and I look at the stats and it's like, I see why they're favored. They've got a good offense. They've got a great defense. They're better than LSU in an awful lot of categories. So on paper, this is a game they should win. And the fun thing is seeing all the Vandy fans saying, you got tickets? You got tickets? I need tickets for this game. If you're not going, don't sell your ticket except to a Vandy fan, which is good. Because I remember the last time, and I know they were here last in 2020, but I think it was the first year they were selling beer, and LSU fans drained that place in the third quarter. So it'll be nice to – and think about it, guys. The first time both of these teams have been ranked in the same game since 1947. So this is another chance for Vanderbilt to kick another – this is the first time since out of the park.
Teresa, real quick, I wanted to ask you too. Tough one last night, giving up a late goal and then falling in overtime. But what do you dislike about the Preds through their early start to this season?
Don't like that they gave up missed an empty netter at the end last night and then lose in the final seconds of overtime. So that's something that needs to be tidied up. But compared to last year when they started 0-5, at least they've gotten off to the right step. They won their home opener. They go quickly on the road. They've got a chance to get more points tomorrow night against Winnipeg. And if they do that, then you've got to call that a very successful road trip coming back to a 5-game homestand. So, there was a lot of talk about chips on shoulders. I'd rather see finishing games when you've got a lead, but at least they've got something to build on instead of trying to claw themselves out of a ditch like they were a year ago.
It makes sense, and I'm glad I asked that, Teresa, because that reminded me. I wanted to ask you, what kind of costume will you be wearing Tuesday night for Star Wars night back at Bridgestone Arena?
I'm not going to that one, but if I'm just not much of a costume person. Wait, I live life as a schlubby sports writer. Isn't that enough? I mean, I'm the female Oscar Madison.
Fair enough, but I thought, I could see you rolling up with a Yoda cloak or perhaps even a Darth Vader mask. I just wanted to see if you were going to have a special fit, but it sounds like you won't be there Tuesday, so I'm going to be a little disappointed.
Well, sorry, but if I did go, no, it wouldn't be Darth. The Force would be with me.
Okay.
And, I'd do maybe Leia, the third one, the New Hope or what? No, the Jedi Returns or what? The one where they destroy the Death Star again? Yeah.
We got you. We got you.
Exactly.
Well, we'll keep the nerds at bay on you from now.
Thank you. I've watched them all.
I want to roll back to last night for just a second, because one thing to build on, the Preds actually scored a power play. Their first goal of the night was on a power play from Stamkos. That had been something that a number of fans had been lamenting over this start. So a little good vibes as far as that goes with the man advantage.
Oh, absolutely. They got one in the home opener, but then I think they were at least 0 of 15 on the man advantage after that.
I think they were 1 for 17 going into last night.
So yeah, that was not good. The good thing is the penalty kill was executing at a high rate. So as long as you're killing penalties, and I might suggest, guys, quit finding your way to the penalty box quite so much. But that, at least one half of that was working. Let's not forget they hired former Blackhawks coach Luke Richardson to come in and work on the defense. So, so I think that's why maybe we're seeing the penalty kill coming out the gate so strong.
She's the queen of Tennessee sports media for a reason, y'all. That's Teresa M. Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. T, we appreciate it as always. And we've been chatting about it here in private, but great wall.
Thank you. When you work at AP, you don't really get to put a ton of stuff up or out. So when I turn my old dining room into the home office, it's like everything I've got's coming out of the boxes and going on the walls.
Well, I wish I had thought to save some stuff, but at any rate, yours looks great. We appreciate the wall and you, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon.
All right. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. We'll come back. We'll talk a little baseball. Stay tuned.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable, local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. October 17th, 1996, Atlanta scored 6 runs in the first inning. Tom Glavine, Mike Bilecki, and Steve Avery combined to hold St. Louis scoreless with just 4 hits, and the Braves recorded the most lopsided postseason victory in baseball history, downing the visiting Cardinals 15-0 in Game 7 of the NLCS. Javi Lopez doubled and homered, Fred McGriff tripled and homered, and Glavine matched the Crime Dogs' 3-bagger as Atlanta banged out 17 hits just 2 games after a 14-0 win in Game 5. The victory sent the Braves into a fall classic matchup with the Yankees, where heartbreak would await. That was this day in Braves history. Dodgers inching another step closer to a second consecutive World Series appearance, downing Milwaukee 3-1 last night in Game 3 of the NLCS. And with that performance by their pitching staff, the Dodgers, according to MLB statistician extraordinaire Sarah Langs, the Dodgers are the first team to allow 1 run or less on 4 hits or less in 4 consecutive postseason games. That'll win you a lot of playoff games. Playoffs, regular season, whatever. When you're pitching like that, you're going to be really tough to beat. And, it's not like Milwaukee has pitched badly, but good pitching beats good hitting, they say.
Yeah, and classic Dodgers, kind of rolling with Teresa there, the evil empire. They're loading the tractor beam, and all sights are pointed squarely at the Brewers. This feels like it's done and dusted after last night. You mentioned, pitching was tough. We didn't see the complete game, late game run there by Glasnow, but he did just enough and was very effective, giving up just 3 hits in the 1 run, but fanning 8 among there. And then the Brewers, they kind of go with that. They have that funky kind of opener deal last night where they handed the ball off to Ashby to start the game, and he got the first out, but not before he gave up a run, of course.
Right.
And then they handed off to the Miz, who went 5, struck out 9. It did his best. But, LA is inevitable. It's rare, even in baseball, that you see the best team on paper really kind of just steamroll through everybody, but that's what we're seeing right now from the Dodgers.
And you mentioned in the rundown, we talked about Dodgers Brewers game 5 tomorrow night. Maybe 7:38 tonight. It's Jose Quintana for the Brewers. Shohei Ohtani getting the start for the Dodgers. You can see that one on TBS. I'm sure Tommy Bryan will be tuned in, and this might be it for this series.
Yeah, I mean, Ohtani on the bump, LA rolling. The fact that they're winning games in a number of different ways has got to be terrible. And the fact that they're winning close, kind of the offense feels like it still has more room. I mean, Ohtani starts off the game with a triple, and you're like, okay, the floodgates are about to just absolutely open. But they got the 1 run from Mookie driving him in, and that was it. So winning games close and winning, with a lower total, that to me is a little scary too because of so much potential. A guy like Muncy, who we mentioned a couple games ago, hit his first home run of the entire postseason, had his first RBI of the whole postseason. That's a type of character, and that's a type of guy that could just pop up and go on a little run here in the next 10 days and really get this offense cranked up. Everything is kind of rolling in LA's favor. They haven't got the offense just absolutely supernova just yet, but it feels like if they needed to tap into that, they could do that as well.
Meanwhile, we talked about Pittsburgh and Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football last night, kind of being the AARP Bowl with Rodgers and Flacco. Max Scherzer said, "Hold my lemonade." Oldest postseason starter at 41 since Jamie Moyer made a World Series start for the Phillies back in 08 at the age of 45. Moyer, incidentally, threw out the first pitch last night for the Mariners. Did not get the good vibes going against the Blue Jays like he would have liked. Scherzer, 5 2/3, 2 runs allowed, chased his manager back to the dugout at one point. Toronto with an 8-2 win to even that series at 2 apiece.
Yeah, fun to see Mad Max kind of turn back the clock last night. And when he got fired up on the mound, I mean, that is what you love, and that's what you think about from vintage or, prime Mad Max Scherzer there. So I love the quote. The Blue Jays manager said, quote, "I thought he was going to kill me." And, when that guy's dealing like that, it's fun to see. And, at his age, it was really, really cool to see him in a high stakes. Toronto's going back north of the border now thanks to that victory. Who knows what tonight will unfold, but getting the 2 games in a row in Seattle, now all of a sudden this feels like anybody's series yet again, and it was because of the heroics from the old-timer out there on the mound.
No doubt. Snyder followed that up with it was great. He locked eyes with me, both colors, as I walked out, alluding to the genetic situation that Scherzer has with 2 different colored eyes. But yeah, Scherzer said he was busy thinking about how he wanted to pitch a Rosarena, and Schneider kind of interrupted him. So get back and let me get to work. Great performance from him. Just
also helps when he's up. Also helps when he's up 5-1 and kind of cruising through 4 innings. It takes a little bit of the stress off a guy like that. So kudos to the Blue Jays bullpen for holding down the back half, and credit to Scherzer, but also credit to the bats who continue to hit very, very well up there in the Pacific Northwest.
No doubt. Andres Jimenez with another home run. His 3rd consecutive day with a home run, and Guerrero had one as well. So yeah. They're getting it done. They're kind of hitting on all cylinders right now. They say it's not a series until a road team wins a game. Well, this is quite the series because in all 4 instances, it's been the road team to win. So stay tuned here. Meanwhile, a couple of injuries threatening to impact this thing on both sides. Jackson Churio had to be pulled from the Brewers lineup last night after a tweaked hamstring, and he's questionable for tonight. Anthony Santander taken off of Toronto's ALCS roster with back issues, which will make him ineligible should Toronto win this for the World Series.
Yeah, something with Churio. Yeah, he was barking like a dog at the plate. Something just clearly was up, and man, it will be tough. The Brewers are obviously already up against it, but man, he has had such a good year. We talked about it earlier in the week with those 2 home runs at the leadoff position, one of the first in MLB history to do so in the postseason in his first three games or 3 seasons. I forget the official stat, but he's been on a heater, and Milwaukee's in a spot where they need all hands on deck. And, if he's unavailable, it will really, really, it's already grim enough, but it will be even grimmer if he, for some reason, can't get it going.
Yeah. Say the least. Again, Santander also out for Toronto with that back situation. Blue Jays, Mariners, 5:08 start today. You can see it on FS1. Kevin Gossman getting the start for the Blue Jays. Bryce Miller, not the former Richland High School 2-sport standout, but Bryce Miller getting the start for Seattle in this one. And, kind of like you said, Wade, it just feels like this one's anybody's for obvious reasons. It's 2-2 in a best of 5.
Yeah, Vegas got this basically a dead heat. The Mariners are a small favorite, but the Blue Jays are minus money too. So, I mean, it's coin flip situation heading into the game tonight. Dodgers are obviously a massive, massive favorite at minus 3,500. But as far as the actual game goes tonight, it's basically the same. The series price mimics the game price tonight identically. The Mariners are minus 105 and the Blue Jays are minus 115. So essentially what you're betting on is if you think they're going to win the game tonight, you like them obviously to win the series. It'll be fun. The over-under's listed at 7. It feels like these, Blue Jays bats have really, really woken up, but Vegas kind of anticipating maybe a low-scoring game tonight. I hope we get a good one. Can't say the same for the Dodgers and the Brewers. It feels inevitable there. Wouldn't be surprised to see Ohtani put on a show. I'll let you decide whether that's at the plate or on the mound. But hopefully get a little something rolling at 5:08 this evening.
Number of managerial openings across Major League Baseball right now, and it feels like Albert Pujols is going to be filling one of them. Has interviewed with the Angels. Apparently, the Baltimore Orioles have also shown interest in talking to him about their vacancy, where former Vandy boy Tony Mansolino finished out the season in an interim role and had the Orioles over 500, but they have decided to open that thing back up. So Baltimore apparently has interest in talking to Pujols. The Angels, where he finished his career, have already interviewed him. He's being talked about as an option in St. Louis, where in San Diego, where former St. Louis manager Mike Schilt resigned earlier this week. So Pujols in demand, seems
to be that way, and seems like it's going to be the Angels if anybody. And he's getting ready to coach the Dominican Republic for the World Baseball Classic too. So I didn't know that we would see Pujols turn this quickly to a man. Didn't necessarily know that he would get into coaching per se, but will be kind of cool. The nostalgia factor will be off the charts if that's who they end up going with.
Yeah, without question, that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. East Coast birds instead of the Midwest birds, I guess, for Pujols, if that plays out. So hour number 1 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is coming to a close. Come back with us after this break for hour number 2. We will be joined by Joe Rexrode of The Athletic, talking a little college football. Stay tuned. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Let's talk a little college football, and we do so with Joe Rexrode of The Athletic. Is that right, Mark? Do we have Joe yet? Not yet. We do not have Joe yet.
Patiently waiting.
We are patiently awaiting the arrival of Joe Rexrode of The Athletic. As we mentioned, full slate of Southeastern Conference football games this weekend and a lot of high-powered matchups, 2 involving teams of area interest, as we've got number 10 LSU coming to number 17 Vanderbilt tomorrow morning, and we've got number 11 Tennessee going to number 6 Alabama tomorrow evening. Both those games will be televised on ABC, 11 o'clock for the Vanderbilt game, 6:30 for the UT game. And I'm sure this segment won't be the last mention of either of those games on this show.
No, I don't think so. And I found this funny, Mo, that going through the ticket prices for tomorrow, Vanderbilt, we talked about it yesterday, steady holding at around $150. Hopefully those Commodore fans, if you're looking to flip a buck, hopefully you're only flipping that to a Vanderbilt fan in terms of protecting your home field. Meanwhile, though, number 4 team in the country, Texas A&M, is going to Arkansas. You can get in the doors for as cheap as $25. So kind of a tale of 2 different times. And I can't believe that I just said it would be $26 for an Arkansas home game versus number 4 in the land. And meanwhile, Vanderbilt is flirting with $200 to get into a game. So the times are a-changing, and it is a mammoth slate in the SEC. Had a little bit of a light one last week with a few teams off, but we're right back in the thick of things here in week 8.
Well, I guess the good thing about that is, if you are an LSU fan trying to get in, you're going to have to pay to get in.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a cheapie.
Yeah, let's get the tourism bucks flowing. Should be fun. Hopefully that place will be rocking at 11 a.m. You got really a number of key matchups. I'm very intrigued with a couple of them, including the one off the beaten path. I'm curious to see what Oklahoma looks like after stubbing their toe with Texas. Did they rush Mateer back? I can't wait to ask Joe kind of about that. But they got a sneaky game. They're favored in that game, but they got a sneaky game at South Carolina tomorrow morning at 11:45. And then, later in the evening, Tennessee going down to Tuscaloosa. Buckle up. It's going to be fireworks. It's going to be popcorn. Get your popcorn ready and get your double birds ready if you're a Vols fan. It should be pretty epic when those 2 teams lock horns tomorrow night at 6:30.
That Oklahoma-South Carolina game is pretty fascinating. It's, I guess, the Spencer Rattler Bowl there to some degree. But, things really kind of cooled off just in terms of buzz around South Carolina after that start. But Lenoris Sellers is still over there.
He's still over there, and, he certainly has cooled off in terms of, number 1 overall draft pick. Certainly the Heisman buzz is now gone. And, I'm fascinated by this more so on the Oklahoma end, because until that Texas loss – they were just on the cusp of like, hey, are these guys maybe going to make a run at a national championship? Maybe definitely at a playoff berth. Now all of a sudden, You lose this game potentially in Columbia, and all of a sudden you are really backed up against it if you're Oklahoma. So that won't be intriguing. And then the Tiger Bowl at 6:45, Missouri at Auburn. Auburn surely can't continue to get ripped off by the refs and stub their toe in this many close games. That is going to be a dandy to kind of close the night in terms of SEC matchups.
Yeah, that will certainly be one to keep an eye on as well. But, kind of in the middle, you mentioned A&M and Arkansas. You got a top 10 matchup in Athens as well as Ole Miss goes to Georgia.
Well, yeah, that one goes without saying. And Ole Miss, can they defy the odds yet again? I've kind of been waiting for the inevitable slip up, and in crazy fashion, this wouldn't necessarily be a slip up. This is going to be an interesting game because Vegas has Georgia at a 7.5-point line here. So, I mean, Georgia feels like they need this game. Ole Miss could weather a loss, but we've seen so many Ole Miss teams as of late. It feels like once they lose that initial surge of momentum, they got to go to Oklahoma next week. This is a brutal stretch for them with at Georgia and at Oklahoma. If they lose this one, no matter how close or how hard fought it is, can they rally? It's going to be fascinating. Yeah, that is your crown jewel, kind of, so to speak, with number 5 and number 9 getting it on at 2:30 tomorrow.
Yeah. And the only game that does not involve a ranked team, Mississippi State goes to Gainesville taking on Florida tomorrow afternoon.
That one's going to be interesting for, can't believe I'm watching this. Why am I watching this? I mean, the gross factor is off the charts there. But, Florida's favored by nearly 10 points. Won't be shocked if Florida comes out and just puts a hurting on Mississippi State. I won't be shocked if Mississippi State is in this game late in the fourth quarter. And we're talking about the boxes already being set outside of Billy Napier's office. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we talked about it. I wouldn't be surprised if they win this game. And then, we're having this same conversation next week. I mean, that is going to be kind of it feels inevitable. And it feels like the Titans in the sense of, okay, when is that shoe going to drop for Napier down at Florida?
Yeah, then, as good a league as this is, somebody has to be not good. And I get that Mississippi State kind of feels like that team right now, but watching them a couple of weeks ago against UT, it feels like they're going to give you 4 quarters, and I'm still not sure what Florida is. So, it wouldn't surprise me if State went into the swamp and, had this thing close late and figured out a way to pull it out.
But I wouldn't be shocked by any outcome in this game. I won't be shocked if it's a Florida mollywop. I won't be shocked if it's a close game that Florida wins. I won't be shocked if it's a close I think the only real scenario where I would be floored is if Mississippi State went in there and just cruised to a victory. I don't know that they've got the same amount of juice going that they had after that 4-0 start. Tennessee, they gave them all they wanted and then some, but then they got humbled pretty good by Texas A&M. It will be a Herculean effort for them, I think, to go into the swamp and get a big, big win.
Yeah. Still awaiting Joe Rexrode, but in the meantime, a couple of topics that we were hoping to discuss with him. One, there's been a coaching change in Happy Valley. You've probably heard that since Monday. But 2, Kurt Cignetti got extended yesterday by Indiana University. How closely are the two related?
Yeah, hey, Jimmy Sexton's season is underway, boys and girls, and every coach that gets fired, every coach that's on the hot seat, every coach that's off to a great start, you can just hear the dollar signs going off in Jimmy Sexton's brain because perfect situation, right? Oh, it'd be a real shame if Cignetti just left after all this great momentum that he's built up at Indiana. We'll rush out and sign you to a big deal. We know now more than ever, though, Mo, that these deals are really not worth anything except the money that you got to pay these guys out. So the real devil's in the details in terms of the buyout. But, yeah, Indiana, it felt like Jimmy and the crew kind of got together and said, it'd be a real shame if you lost this guy. And they immediately award him a brand new 8-year to the contract of average of nearly 11.6 million per season, I think I read.
8 years, $93 million.
Whoo!
Annual average salary of 11.6. I mean, I didn't know Indiana had the money for football, and I think other folks would probably say the same thing. Basketball, sure. Football, I don't know.
Well, two things there, Mo, right? They got the number one, they got all that beautiful television and revenue sharing going on. I mean, it's a brand new ball game when you sign these big deals in terms of your TV contract. So they got their own coffers, but now they got that to deal with. And man, the real big question, and we could have a whole show with Joe about this when he joins us, but the drum is not stopping with private equity in terms of investing into the Big Ten. And Michigan has come out, their Board of Regents has really said they are opposed. But eventually money talks, and eventually the dollars and the offers get so high. I mean, if some of those deals and some of those numbers kind of got floated around, Indiana would have a bigger budget than most of your SEC schools, hypothetically, just based on the private juice that could flow into it. So shocking to see, to say the least, but in the new era of college football, not necessarily surprising as Cignetti signing big bucks to stay a Hoosier.
You know, it's kind of crazy. Cignetti's 64 years old. You're talking about a 8-year extension. I mean, that puts him at 72, which is, kind of Saban, Mac Brown type territory. But, he's probably a young 64 when you take into consideration where he's been and that kind of thing. Those are just interesting numbers to me under the circumstances. But athletics director Scott Dolson, we didn't come this far to only come this far. We're all in, and we're going to continue to invest and make certain that we've got our priorities in line. He's priority one, and then it's retaining our staff, and it's having the resources to build a roster. So
I will be shocked. I mean, shocked if he fulfills the entirety of that contract at Indiana. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I don't know if that means he retires. I don't know if that means he gets pulled away somewhere else. But for now, yeah, cashing to the tune of 11.6. He only trails Kirby Smart and Ryan Day in terms of average salary per year, which is just mind-blowing. But yeah, I will be floored if he fulfills the length of that contract.
You said Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, and Kurt Cignetti. One of those things is not like the others.
Yeah, Cignetti don't got the natty just yet. The other two obviously got the goods. But I mean, it's last to market, right? The next big hotshot coach, perhaps, whoever takes over Florida, if it's a high-profile enough hire, I would imagine they probably will be in that ballpark as well. I mean, it's just can we see this a lot with MLB contracts, right? You're like, oh, my goodness, how did this guy sign for $750 million? Well, just because that's the market these days. So the numbers are shocking and eye-popping. They'll go up and up, and then we'll see Smart and we'll see Day renew eventually, and then they will kind of overtake what's currently there, you would think. But it does not make any less shocking when you think about an Indiana football coach making $11.6 million a season.
Yeah. I just saw a headline as I'm Googling some stuff. James Franklin about to make a lot of coaches richer. We've seen one, I guess, right now, but who gets that Penn State job?
I lost you, Mo.
How about now?
Yes, sir.
There we go. Who gets the Penn State?
That's the $1 million question, and that's what everybody was whispering was that Cignetti was maybe going to be in the mix, and now all of a sudden he's one of the richest guys. And so it's going to be fascinating because Penn State is, as we've discussed with a couple folks, they are borderline too big for their britches type mode, and don't know how good we had it type situation with Franklin here. If they get the right coach and they nail this, they could maintain their status quo. They can maybe even go to a higher plane there. If they don't do this, we're kind of thinking about a Billy Napier situation, right? Where they kind of come back to earth. And it feels like they're going to swing for the fences. And it feels like, everybody's going to plant these big names. But with so many high-profile jobs open, do you want to take would you rather take the Penn State job or one of these other jobs that are likely to come open, knowing you have to play Ohio State, knowing you probably got to play Oregon every year? I mean, it's going to be – I will not be shocked if it's not a massive home run hire because of that kind of too big for their britches factor.
Yeah, and maybe you want to be in that second wave, like you said, replacing somebody who replaced that guy. But,
for sure. And, one hot name that's going to get mentioned, I don't know if it necessarily is with Penn State, but Drink at Missouri is they're going to have to back up the Brinks truck if they want to keep that guy at Mizzou. They're going to have to do that. Nebraska is on the road tonight at Minnesota. Matt Rule continues to kind of quietly have some great success there. It hasn't really led to nationwide attention just yet. Those are some names that I wouldn't be shocked if they got, that just don't, absolutely floor you. You're not hiring like Urban Meyer. You're not going to bring like, Kalen DeBoer. You're not going to pluck an SEC coach, I don't think, to come to Penn State. So you're going to have to kind of maybe target some of those other kind of somewhat up-and-coming type guys if you kind of want to maintain that status quo, which it seems like they do.
Again, doing some Googling here real quick, and a certain name that is going to wreak havoc over on West End, just hearing it. Penn State doesn't come to Vanderbilt for a coach again, do they?
I mean, they might inquire. Clark Lee just feels like, eventually he will outplay his contract and he will outcoach his kind of status at Vanderbilt if things stay the way they are. But if you want to analyze it big picture, are we capturing lightning in a bottle these last season and a half with Vanderbilt, with Pavia, and with all the talent they've kind of assimilated and they're chugging in the right direction? Is this the real glory? Is this as good as it's ever going to get for Vanderbilt? That's a question that Clark Lee has to kind of answer. And he seems like he wants to be there for as long as they'll have him and as long as they can stay competitive. But once those glory years, in that golden era kind of slips by, is that really the case? That'll be a fascinating question. To me, it just seems like a foregone conclusion. He'll stay for quite a while. But I don't know that Penn State would necessarily turn his way, but maybe they do. It'd be a hard sell to the fan base getting a coach from the same school twice.
That's kind of what I would think, but from Clark Lee's perspective, like you said, I mean, he's a Vanderbilt graduate. He's got his alma mater into a level of prominence that they've not enjoyed for a real long time. But can you maintain that? And I don't know if he's pragmatic enough to look at it that way, or if you just enjoy where you are, again, at your alma mater, in your hometown, that kind of thing. I think that's a fascinating situation there.
Yeah, and it feels like the buzz is not quite, I mean, it is slowly ramping up for Clark Lee, and it's undeniable that he has had just buku amount of success this last season and a half. But if, say they lose to LSU and then things kind of start unraveling, they finish just above 500, have a decent season with the bowl game, what does that do for his coaching buzz? It really will come down to if a university and coaching search is going to look between the layers of the onion, right? Because 6-5 at Vanderbilt, 7-6 at Vanderbilt is a hell of a lot different than 7-6 at Florida or, some other schools, right? So, I mean, if a university is willing to kind of accept and, realize he's dealing with a little bit of a loaded deck, then yeah, I could see him maybe getting some buzz.
Yeah. Got a couple of interesting ball games in the Atlantic Coast Conference tonight for different reasons. Number 2, Miami is taking on visiting Louisville tonight. The Cardinals coming in at 4-1 overall, 1-1 in conference play. Miami undefeated, 5-0 overall, 1-0. That's a 6:00 kick tonight on ESPN. Do the Cardinals have the goods, Wade, to go on the road and spoil things for the Hurricanes?
I'm going to save my pick for the end, but this is going to be a fun game, an interesting game tonight, because if Louisville doesn't fall in overtime, to Virginia, we're talking about 2 undefeated teams rolling. I mean, this game has ample amounts of juice at that point. But as is, all of a sudden now it's like, Louisville, but they're still sitting there at 4-1. This is a key game for Louisville, of course, but it is a massive game for Miami because they have been prone to stub their toe in regular season play, despite having tons of talent, a la last year, falling to Syracuse, right? But then also in years past, the joke of the U being back, these are the types of games you got to take care of business. Luckily for them, it's at home. And it'll be, I will not be shocked if it's a little more competitive than some folks might initially glance, but I think that's just a function of Louisville being unranked tonight.
In the second half of the ACC Friday night doubleheader tonight, you've got kicking off at 9:30 out in Berkeley. The Cal Bears 4-2, 1-1 against the Tar Heels of North Carolina, 2-3 overall, 0-1 in ACC action. Who's going to stay up for this?
Cal fans, myself coming back from
Well,
high
they
school
won't
football
necessarily
tonight.
be staying up if they're Cal fans because it's 7:30 out there.
Michael Felder will be staying up. He'll be live tweeting this game. He'll be on Bluesky reeling off the tweets tonight, folks. But yeah, this is going to be an ugly game. And it was always going to be an ugly game. We thought the tables would be turned in this situation. We didn't necessarily know that UNC would have already gone into full-blown dumpster fire mode. I'm a little ticked off, though, with Cal, though, Mo, because they burned me bad. This is their second crack at one of the Tobacco Road rivalry opponents there. They had Duke on the ropes and then just got waxed in the late in the second quarter and into the second half their last time out. They ended up getting beat 45-21, but they were up in that game 21-14 just before halftime. Cal was my sneaky pick to maybe crash the party out in Charlotte and make the ACC championship game. Now it's the Blue Devils who might be holding that moniker. It will be as ugly as Cal and Coach Wilcox perhaps want to make it tonight because UNC is in that much of a free fall.
News out of the Big 12. Apparently, throwing tortillas on the field is frowned upon in that conference. It's a tradition for Texas Tech to do so, and all of a sudden Brent Yormark and other folks are saying, you got to stop that. They are threatening a 6-figure fine for the next time tortillas land on the floor, on the field out there, along with an in-game penalty.
Why can't we have nice things, right? I mean, just let the kids throw the tortillas. It should be. I mean, they had no problem doing this a couple years ago, but really the big thing is, Mo, is what this is. You mentioned the whole shebang when you said the Big 12 conference and Brett Yormark, because if they had a sponsorship deal attached to this, they would have no qualms with him throwing them tortillas.
The official tortilla of the Big 12.
Correct. And if Texas Tech had a deal, they would find a way to get this in. But as is, they're kind of poo-pooing. It's no fun league type situation stuff here.
Beginning this week, the first time a Texas Tech fan throws a tortilla on the field, the Big 12 will require a public address announcement as a warning of the behavior. Subsequent instances carry a 15-yard penalty and a $100,000 fine. Big 12 ADs voted in August 15-1 to penalize schools if fans throw in areas outside of the field of play. Throwing objects on the field. Who has a tortilla hurt?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is no fun league, and if they had a deal in the conference, they would have no problems with this. I don't think. I do like it. Hey, you get one chance, opening kickoff, you throw them, and you get a warning. I mean, it ain't the greatest, but it's better than nothing. But I would take if I was a Big 12. I'm in favor of both of these.
Maybe you throw them.
Yeah, that's what I'm insinuating, that they're kind of encouraging them to do it and just kind of get it out of the system here. At least it's not mustard bottles, I suppose, or golf balls is the way they're really thinking about this. But the other thing here is, the Big 12 doesn't want either. But if you're going to allow one or the other, you'd rather have tortillas getting thrown than fans rushing the field, I would think. And so it's kind of comical to see both of these kind of mentioned in the same breath in that regard. But yeah, come on, man, let the kids have fun. This is petty stuff right here. And Texas Tech, who's ruling the roost, both in wins and losses and money being raised right now. I don't know why you would really try and agitate your cash cow at the moment.
Yeah. It's a tortilla, y'all. Come on. Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will kind of get into what's coming up this weekend ahead of the Wonder Slate in our final segment when Wade and I give you our 10 weekend winners. We've already kind of started down that road. We'll take a break and come back to it. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated cost plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. As we mentioned briefly when we were talking to TERESA Walker, the Preds dropped a 3-2 overtime decision at Montreal last night. But again, they did pick up a power play goal, and they did pick up a point in the loss. So beats the heck out of 0-5, which was their start last year. 2-1-2 are the Predators heading into tomorrow's matchup at Winnipeg to close a 4-game Canadian road trip.
Yeah, things could be a lot worse. Things this season could be a lot better. A puck here, a puck there, and that record looks a lot better for Nashville. But not a bad start. Hopefully they can ride some of these vibes. Going on the road and coming away with a couple of points is not bad. Really disappointing, though. You give up one right at the death to basically send it to OT, and then you fall there. If not for that, maybe Nashville gets this win. Maybe you're sitting here having a little bit of a different conversation. But decent enough start for the guys, playing pretty well, and kind of going to be fun to keep tabs on them as we wind down the end of football season, then really more eyes kind of start to turn towards the NHL.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, other than that loss to Toronto the other night, that 7-4 loss, that was the back half of a back-to-back. There's a lot to feel good about with this team right now, it feels like. So should be a pretty good crowd for them when they come back to Bridgestone on Tuesday to take on the Ducks in the first of 5 straight at home?
Yeah, big old homestand coming up. Should be fun, and hopefully get some home ice advantage in a sense, because they've kind of been quietly. They were so bad last year that the expectations, I think, were pretty much nil heading into this season. And if you can start, building a little buzz here and there, and if you maybe kind of turn the corner at the end of December into January, and you're still kind of in this kind of vicinity of a record, or maybe even a little better, then things will really, really start rolling. But yeah, getting some major points and some major wins here at home would be clutch for them heading forward.
Wade, you mentioned decision day. And again, you are the soccer aficionado of the two of us. The Nashville Soccer Club entertains Intermessi in their final regular season MLS matchup tomorrow over at Geodis Park. Does everybody play at the same time or just on the same day? How does this work? What's the significance of decision day, so to speak?
Well, everybody does. They mimic the rest of the world, thank goodness. MLS has kind of been known to do things their own unique way, but they get this one right. Everybody plays at 5 o'clock tomorrow. That way there's no chicanery going on. I take that back. There's a couple loose Western Conference. Okay, that's what it is. Eastern Conference kicks off at 5. Western Conference kicks off at 8. That way there's no hoodooing going on as far as, match fixing, which has happened across the pond and at the international level. And the recipe is, throwing matches and things of that nature. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But Nashville, the scenarios could range anywhere from 4th to 8th. Realistically, you're probably looking at around a 6th place finish for NSC. They could, it's about a 9% chance according to playoffstatus.com, but they could hypothetically end up in the top 4, but they need some help. They need a win tomorrow versus Miami. They need Charlotte to lose to the Union, and they need New York FC to either lose or draw versus the Sounders. All of those scenarios would give Nashville a top 4 finish, which would be fantastic from what we saw them do a year ago. If things go completely off the rails, about a 6% chance they could finish as low as 8th. That would take an NSC loss, an Orlando win, and a Chicago win. I can't tell you any of the scenarios in the middle. I don't even know that those are really completely determined. But if Nashville were to fall into 8th, they would get a crucial home match against a still-to-be-determined opponent in round 1 in that play-in scenario. But hoping for good vibes. It'd be nice just to go out. The thing is, Mo, right? You just go out and you get the win, and that's the beauty of everybody playing at the same time. You get the win, and you kind of just see what happens. There's no impact, in theory, to your performance on the field based on scoreboard watching.
So they have to win, first of all. And then Charlotte has to lose to the Union, which is not out of the realm of possibility, right?
Yeah, and anything can happen. I would on the final day, the real kick. It would be nice if Charlotte, if that scenario was a loss or a draw. But Charlotte, Philadelphia is your top team in the MLS. So yeah, that is borderline expected, you would think. But the kicker is going to be, what does New York FC do? They need a loss or a draw for them versus the Sounders.
Okay. And you don't necessarily know what field, what team the Union's going to put out there, because they're the number 1 seed and they're locked in at number 1, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you see things go on both sides of the equation on the final day. Playing in Charlotte wouldn't necessarily surprise me if Philadelphia did, pull its foot off the gas a little bit in terms of its roster management. If this were a home game, want to go out, want to support, and show the love for the local fans, maybe you field a little more competitive roster. Around 4 p.m. tomorrow is when we'll kind of get an indication as to Philadelphia's intent. Even with a diminished roster, they still could probably pull off the win. Charlotte is a betting underdog in that game already entering tomorrow. So gonna be fascinating. But the main thing is, hey, it's been one heck of a season for Nashville. You have the biggest trophy in Tennessee sports history, arguably, here, and you've got a chance to kind of do some damage heading into the postseason. You just would like to set yourself up for as much success as possible in terms of your draw.
Yeah. When do the playoffs start? Do we know that?
Yeah, start Wednesday, and it would be that play-in game that I referenced a moment ago. So you're hoping to avoid that, obviously. So we get cranked up pretty quick. And MLS Cup is usually decided the first weekend in December or so. So hopefully NSC is still rolling around through the month of November. Other big kind of storyline is that Sam Surridge is still kind of chasing the proverbial golden boot. Unlikely to happen. He's trailing Messi by 3 goals. But, I mean, man, imagine that. You go toe-to-toe with Messi. And I got to give Messi just real quick, just a little bit of props because, we roasted him rightfully so for skipping the MLS All-Star game this summer. But recently, he turned down an appearance with the Argentinian national team to focus more on the MLS schedule. So I do want to give a tiny little credit to the golden one there. But, yeah, Surridge will need 4 goals, which is pretty much tells you all you need to know, and need Messi to not score. And he's also got to fight off a guy from LAFC too. Either way, it's been a MVP-type season for Surridge. It would be cool if he can maybe do it He's tied with Ani Mukhtar for the most goals ever in an NSC uniform. It will be fun. And real quick, Mo, before we close on NSC, I want to give a shout out to Taylor Washington, who retired in the last week or so. Washington was the longest tenured NSC player. He was with them back in the USL days when they were kind of on the come up in the minor leagues before they were an expansion MLS franchise. The original NSC man, Taylor Washington, the defender, hanging up his boots after 8 years and 166 appearances in an NSC kit.
Wow. Okay. Good knowledge there, Mr. Neely. NASCAR Cup Series goes to Talladega this weekend. The second race in the 3-race round of 8. They will follow that up with a trip to Martinsville, Virginia next weekend. Denny Hamlin coming off the win at Vegas, his second win of the playoffs. Wade and I were fortunate enough to get to talk to Heather Williams, our NASCAR expert, a couple of shows ago, back on Wednesday. She's expecting the Fords to show well at Talladega this weekend. So we'll be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Joey Logano. I mean, there's a massive log jam. Not surprising, I guess, at Talladega, right? But as many as 6 drivers are all kind of jumbled up in your betting odds heading into the weekend. Denny Hamlin, be kind of cool to see him peel off another, and he's sitting there at 18-1, but everybody else is around 900 or 9 to 12-1, I should say. Should be a fun race. Talladega always has something wild. There will be no shortage of highlights coming out of the race this weekend at the Yellowwood 500.
The Yellowwood 500. Byron, Elliott, Logano, and Blaney all trying to get into the playoffs or into that championship race. If that was set right now, they'd all be on the outside looking in. It'd be Hamlin, Larson, Bell, and Briscoe. But as we said, this is the second race in the round of 8, and there's one more after that. So these guys still got a shot to work their way up. But this week will be huge as far as that goes. Vanderbilt, I was, on social media last night, as I tend to be when I was coming back from, well, anyway.
Yeah, careful now.
Yeah. Anyway, Vanderbilt and Virginia played a preseason game last night at Memorial Gym. And a lot of buzz, a lot of info out there. I thought that those things were supposed to kind of be under wraps and that kind of thing, but it's almost like they publicize this thing. And Vanderbilt won both halves, from my understanding. So pretty good Virginia team under a new coach, Ryan Odom. But the reinforcements that Vanderbilt brought in over the offseason, at least last night, seemed to kind of pay off.
Good to see them, take care of business. I'm like you. Yeah, these have gotten less and less hush hush.
Yeah,
we saw Blake Lovell was telling us, Auburn had a big one versus OK State. They fell in that one the other night, and then also I think Alabama knocked off Florida State. A real close game. I want to say like 77-75, something of that nature. So hoops action is heating up, and good to hear that the Commodores are kind of rolling here. Apparently Tennessee and Duke will be tangling at some point here if they haven't already.
That should be interesting. One of the new expansion teams in the WNBA has announced its coach. And apparently they actually did so officially. The Portland Fire has hired former Cleveland Cavaliers assistant Alex Sarama. They officially announced it earlier today, but apparently there was a brief leak on the team's LinkedIn account yesterday. It went up and immediately came back down, but not before somebody saw it, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. Some staff member got to quick trigger fingers, accidentally hit send to LinkedIn, and quick on the draw on the screen grab. Somebody, this new coach is what I think I read 30 years old. That is bonkers, or just at least crazy to think about.
It really is. And I'm kind of fascinated by folks that are coming over to the W with NBA experience. This guy is, according to an article I'm looking at on ESPN.com, one of the leading authorities on an innovative training system that has become popular in European basketball, soccer, and increasingly in the NBA, counting players like Wembanyama and coaches like Kenny Atkinson as true believers. But again, I'm just fascinated at the different backgrounds that folks are coming from to the WNBA at this point. Guys who have people who have their experience primarily with men's basketball or into the women's basketball arena, so to speak.
Yeah, seeing the game not just grow in terms of WNBA expansion, but also that global expansion continues to infiltrate both the NBA and WNBA ranks. So LinkedIn snafu aside from Tuesday, sounds like they got their guy officially introduced today. And, as we've talked about a couple of times on this show, be interesting to see if we're still talking about him as the head coach this time next season.
Yeah, because, they do tend to turn over, it feels like. And the WNBA going through some changes with expansion, but also with their CBA and that kind of thing. And we had a coach at Dallas who lasted 1 year, I guess. So something like that. All right. Yeah, they'll start play next year. Sarama with the Trailblazers G League affiliate, the Rip City Remix. He was assistant coach and director of player development. Interesting stuff.
Getting back to Portland, and on the flip side of this too, Mo, I'd be curious to see how this impacts the Cavs, who, the East is considered to be wide open, and the Cavs basically stood pat on their roster. We thought, and before this news, we're standing pat kind of across all their coaching. After that great regular season last year, falling short in the postseason, be curious to see what, if any, impact this departure has for them in their NBA season this year.
The East is, with some of the injuries that we saw late in the season and that kind of thing, and the parity that there already was on the Eastern side, it feels like it almost feels like that conference is kind of up for grabs this time around.
100%. And, that's, a lot of folks in Cleveland are kind of just hoping and praying that last year wasn't a flash in the pan and you can just, march right back to where you were in terms of your best record in the regular season in the East. Don't know that it will go that easily, but yeah, it feels like the East is completely up for grabs. And yeah, I'll be kind of curious because Cleveland is a real head scratcher to me because there's so many other random, and it's crazy to think about. I saw a clip. Tatum is already working out, and running sprints on the court 3 months after we saw him blow out his Achilles on national television. So the East is kind of up for grabs. We get started Tuesday night with a couple of games, but Wednesday is when everybody really gets going, including the Cavs, who will be at the Knicks on Wednesday night in their opener. So going to be interesting in that Eastern Conference if Cleveland can kind of hold serve now without one of their potential main assistants.
Speaking of the East, and I saw this as I was leaving the barbershop Wednesday evening, Wade. It was on the ticker, and as quick as it was up there, it was gone, it felt like. So I must have caught it late. Malcolm Brogdon announced his retirement Wednesday after 9 seasons. Retiring from the Knicks. Career average of 15.3 points, 4.5 assists, 4 rebounds. 6th man of the year with the Celtics in 22-23. Second round pick of the Bucks in 2016. The first rookie, let me get this right. Kia Rookie of the Year in 2017. First player drafted outside the first round to win Rookie of the Year honors since 1966, when he did so again in 2017. So what's that? 50 years almost. But yeah, Malcolm Brogdon announced his retirement earlier in the week. What's the significance of that?
don't know that, well, depending on who you believe, right? There could be some significant, because he was on a non-guaranteed deal with the Knicks, but was likely, again, according to who you believe, likely going to end up getting an open roster spot there. And there were some whispers that, he kind of had Mike Brown's favor. But I did find this fascinating. One of the main things that he cited for his retirement was a physical and mental toll. And I want somebody to whisper in Malcolm's ear, hey, Tom Thibodeau ain't here no more, my man. You ain't got to worry about a physical and mental toll. In theory, things are going to be a little less stressful and a little less grindy. But, the Knicks, another team that kind of somewhat stood pat, they are going to be right in the mix in the East, whether Brogdon was going to be a piece of that or not. I don't know that really dings them too much. Would have been a nice little asset, presumably on a little bit of a cheaper deal. Would have been a really, really nice piece to have if somebody, unfortunately, were to fall due to injury.
Yeah. Malcolm Brogdon hanging them up. Maybe he didn't get word about Tibbs not being there.
Yeah. Hey, this dude ain't coming back, man. You ain't got to worry about that. We're not playing, your starters 43 minutes a game. You ain't got to worry about that, my man.
Let's take our final break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, it's the Wonder Slate. Wade and I will give you our 10 weekend winners in college football. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
It is the final segment of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That means it's time for the Wonder Slate, as Wade and I give you our 10 weekend college football winners. And Wade's done a little bit better job of doing that for you than I have of late. But again, hope springs eternal. Wade, the floor is yours.
Hope springs eternal, Mo. And yes, the chance to go 10-0 begins right now for all of our listeners who we encourage you, bet responsibly or, take our picks as entertainment purposes only. But before we get into it, all odds are brought to you by our friends at Circa Sportsbook and the Mint Gaming Hall in Kentucky, home of the largest television in Kentucky. So make sure that you check out the Circa Sportsbook there and all their good offerings. And you can do so. We got a game on Friday night. Mo, you rattled off. We got a couple good ones tonight. We got a couple ACC games. We got a Big Ten showdown. But the real key one, Louisville should be ranked, but they're not. Louisville stubbing their toe versus Virginia. So they go in unranked at number 2, Miami tonight. This game will be broadcast at 6 p.m. on ESPN. And Mo, Miami is favored by 13.5.
Yeah, and I think Louisville's kind of got a little bit of a score to settle after that loss to Virginia a couple of weeks ago. I don't know that they win this ball game, but 13.5, even at Miami, feels like a lot to me. Give me the Cardinals to cover.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Louisville. Miami, I just don't trust them all the way at this big of a number. They should, in theory, if you're number 2 in the land, you should be covering this number, but I don't know that I trust them just yet. And yeah, Louisville, I think they bounce back. I'm with you. Give me the Cards at 13.5 tonight. Saturday, we get cranked up bright and early over here on West End as Vanderbilt is taking on LSU. The Tigers are ranked number 10. Vanderbilt is number 17. And Mo, for the first time in 176 chances, and for the first time since 1978, according to the folks at NashvilleBanner.com, Vanderbilt is favored versus a ranked team. First time since 1978. The number is 2.5. Who do you like?
I like that number. I like Vanderbilt by about a field goal in this one, actually. I'm gonna roll with the black and gold. Give me the Commodores here.
I'm taking Vanderbilt as well, just because a few key plays against Alabama, and maybe that game ends up a little different. They don't cover the number last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, but they get a chance, and LSU's defense, as good as they are, if Pavia is capable of cracking a defense because of the unique things that he can do and the unique kind of wrinkles of their offense. Yeah, I'm with you. I think they can win this game by a field goal, which would get us home at 2.5. That is our first 11 a.m. game. Second game, this one we go to the ACC. It's number 12 Georgia Tech at Duke, and Duke is favored by 1.5 on ESPN.
Man, I really like the job that Brent Key has done down in Atlanta with the Yellow Jackets. I like Georgia Tech to win this game outright.
It's going to be a toss-up. I'm taking Duke at home. I like what they did, going across the country and just waxing Cal after falling behind late in the second quarter. Georgia Tech's a good team. Duke is a sneaky good team too. Don't look just now, but if Duke wins this game, they are going to be in prime position to maybe make the ACC championship game. What a world we live in if that were to occur. I'm taking Duke minus 1.5 at 11 a.m. on ESPN. Next game, 11:45 on the SEC Network. Number 14, Oklahoma, is favored by 5.5, Mo, at South Carolina. Can the Sooners get the bad taste out of their mouth after the Red River Shootout last week didn't go their way?
You made a point when we were discussing Oklahoma earlier in the show. I'm not sure excuse me, just how healthy John Mateer is. And with that said, and with South Carolina being a home dog, I don't know that Carolina wins a game, but I don't know that Oklahoma wins it by 6. I'm going to go with South Carolina here.
Yeah, we're rolling together on this one because I like South Carolina. Man, I wish this was a night game because that place would really be jumping. Sir Mr. Bigspur would be crowing his head off there. But as such, 11:45, maybe still enough to get the job done. I think South Carolina not only covers, I think they win this game. I feel like Oklahoma kind of in a daze right now. You got the loss last week. You got some quarterback issues still lingering. Give me South Carolina to cover and bonus to win that game tomorrow at 11:45. Afternoon window. Big showdown between the hedges as Georgia is favored by 7.5. Number 5, Ole Miss coming to town. Number 9, Bulldogs, 2:30 on ABC.
Georgia feels like they've just kind of been a little bit out of sync to me. And, the Auburn game kind of exhibited some of that. I think Ole Miss can take advantage of maybe some of the things that Auburn wasn't able to last week. Now, can they take advantage enough to get out of Athens with a victory? I don't know, but I think they can probably make it about a field goal game. Again, I like Ole Miss in this one at that number.
I'm going to take Georgia. This is a big boy game for Lane Kiffin and the Rebs. If they can win this game, if they can cover, man, oh man, you can really start thinking about national championship with the Ole Miss Rebels there. But I think Georgia's got the goods, and in a big boy game with big boy stakes, I like Georgia, and I think they win this game kind of by around 10 points. I'll take the 7.5, but I'm hoping for a good one at 2:30 tomorrow on ABC. Mo, get your tortillas ready at 3 o'clock. It'll be number 7 Texas Tech. Do they dare bring, some of their favorite Mexican cuisine adornments there to Arizona State? The Red Raiders, the darlings of the Big 12, are favored by 7.5 at ASU, who has their quarterback back this week.
Man, the Big 12 is so crazy right now. Arizona State, again, another home dog by more than a touchdown. I think Texas Tech wins this ball game, but I think they win it close. I'm going to go with the Sun Devils in Tempe in this one.
I'm with you. And, maybe Levitt coming back just a week after the injury. Maybe he's not fully healthy, but if he is fully healthy, he's good to go because they were not the same team without him last week when they got trounced by Utah. But I'm with you. I'm taking the Sun Devils. I think Tech wins this game, but I think it's close, maybe 3 or 4 points. And ASU would get us home there at plus 7.5. So we're both on the Devils there. 6:30 ABC. Alabama, Tennessee. I really don't need to say a lot more, except that Alabama's favored by 8.5.
Man, everybody, that Florida State game obviously is in the past for Alabama, and a lot of folks are saying that Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in college football right now, which is a long way from where they were on him at any point last year. But, this Tennessee team can put up points. I mean, they're the top scoring offense in the country. Now, have they played a defense as tough as Alabama? I don't know. But 8.5 sounds like a lot of points against UT to me. I'm going to go with the Vols.
I'm taking the Tide. Same vibe or same circumstances as I think with the Ole Miss game versus Georgia. This is a big boy game. They all are in this rivalry, of course. I think Alabama's playing at a high level, and I think they survived a little bit of a scare in a potential trap situation last week at Missouri. That lets me know that Alabama's kind of for real. I like them to win by about 10. Again, very similar vibes to what we saw with Georgia. I think the Vols do put up a good fight, but I'm taking the Tide to cover 8.5. Speaking of nearly 10-point favorites, Mo, number 20 USC is an underdog by 9.5. This is a playoff elimination game when the Trojans roll into South Bend at 6:30. One of these teams will not be coming out of here with playoff hopes intact.
Yeah, and I think it will be the traveling team in this one. I think Notre Dame finds a way to cover that number at home. 10 feels about right. 10 points, 2 touchdowns, something like that. It pains me to say it, but give me the Irish here.
David Wilson will love that, and he will love to hear this. I think Notre Dame wins this game pretty big. USC, it was revealed later, a lot of their players had, in addition to their travel at Illinois when they got waxed, they had food poisoning issues. Well, they alleviated all those and looked good against my beloved Wolverines last week. Yeah. But Notre Dame is a much better team than the Michigan Wolverines this season. I think Notre Dame wins this game by about 2 touchdowns, and we get home both safe and sound at our 9.5 number. Rolling along at 6:45 tomorrow night, number 16 Missouri is favored by 1.5 down at Auburn.
This is basically a pick 'em at 1.5. And, I'm not sold on Auburn at all. Had Georgia couldn't finish them off, give me Missouri here on the road.
I want to pick Missouri, but when Mark Mize, the biggest Missouri fan I know, says pick Auburn, I'm picking Auburn in this game. They feel I trust Mark with my life, and when it comes to Missouri football, and Auburn just feels a little snake bit, but it also feels like maybe it's time for things to kind of turn. Hugh Freeze randomly has a little bit of luck every now and again, and it feels like they find a way to win this game. If Missouri wins, they're back into contention again, but it's a big game. I'm taking Auburn at 6:45 on the SEC network. Final game we get to pick, Mo. Utah and BYU, holy war, and the Utes are favored by 3.5.
BYU looked awfully good against Arizona last week with everything they had to deal with. Give me Brigham Young right here.
I'm taking Utah in this one. They're out for revenge. That's going to be my favorite game of the night. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to rejoining you guys.
There we go. That is the Wonder Slate. This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back Monday at 2 o'clock. Join Wade and I as we break down all of the events of the weekend. Y'all have a great one.